Boston, to many, is a city of dreams, where history and modernity blend into a delicate, vibrant tapestry. But for Cole Harrison, a renowned heart surgeon who has experienced life's ups and downs, the city holds more than just the sparkle of streetlights and towering buildings. It is a place where every step he takes carries personal sorrows, deep secrets no one can touch. Cole was born and raised in a family with a long medical tradition, where his father was one of the leading professors in the field. His path seemed preordained, and he followed it with all seriousness and determination. But some things cannot be foreseen, no matter how hard one tries. He once believed he could never be a father, a reality that made him feel powerless, despite being a doctor who witnessed countless miracles and tragedies in the operating room. The diagnosis of a rare condition affecting his fertility, a cold, harsh prediction, silently closed the door on his hopes of having a family. Work became everything, a place to hide the emptiness inside. Day by day, he immersed himself in surgeries where life and death hung by a thread. He became cold, seemingly indifferent to emotions, to avoid facing the deep wounds within. Boston, to him, was not just a place, but a stage to perform his perfection, even as his inner self cracked. But life never lets us live forever in shells. On a chilly autumn morning, as golden leaves scattered across the ancient streets, Cole walked down cobblestone roads, his eyes vacant, unaware that a new chapter of his life was about to unfold. A chapter he had never imagined, filled with contrasting emotions of happiness, confusion, and old pains, thoughts long buried. Thus, Boston was no longer just the city of distant dreams, but the place that tied together a story of love, marked by cuts and healing, where Cole would have to relearn how to open his heart and love, not only others, but also himself. If you've ever felt that life is full of surprises and upheavals, take a moment to join me on Cole's journey, a story not just about love, but about growth, about finding oneself amid life's changes. Don't forget to leave a like if you feel a spark from these words. Share your thoughts with a gentle comment below, and follow the channel to eagerly await the next heartfelt and profound parts of this story. Every like, every comment, every bit of your support is an excellent motivation for me to keep telling honest and deeply human stories like this. Let's step into Cole's world together, where love and life are written through the simplest yet most meaningful moments. Boston, autumn, and a heart longing to be loved. The grand hall of the Boston Medical Conference buzzed with quiet excitement, a gathering of the brightest minds in medicine. Cole Harrison moved through the crowd with practiced ease, his white coat pressed and his gaze focused. Yet beneath the calm exterior, a familiar unease stirred, one he thought long buried in the past. Then, amidst the sea of faces, he saw her. Nia Thompson. Her presence was impossible to miss. Tall, poised, and with an effortless elegance, she stood near the entrance, conversing with colleagues. The soft light caught the highlights in her dark curls, and her eyes, those deep, expressive eyes, held the same fierce intelligence that had captivated Cole years ago. Time had changed her, as it had changed him. But the ache of memories they shared lingered, sharp and undeniable. He hesitated momentarily, the crowd fading into the background as his heart caught in a sudden, unexpected beat. The woman who had vanished from his life 5 years ago stood there now, a ghost from his past returning to life. Nia's gaze swept the room, and their eyes met across the space like a collision of storms. Neither looked away first. Cole's mind raced with questions. Why had she returned? What secrets did she carry beneath that composed exterior? And why, after all these years, did his chest tighten with the weight of unspoken words? The last time they parted was with silence and distance, a chasm built from fear, pride, and unhealed wounds. Cole had buried himself in his work, convincing himself that moving forward meant leaving her behind. Yet here she was, as real and present as the autumn chill creeping through the city streets. Summoning his courage, Cole stepped forward. Their conversation began cautiously, words measured and careful, yet currents of old emotions swirled underneath the polite surface. Nia spoke of her life's journey, her career as an investigative journalist, the challenges she'd faced navigating a world that often underestimated her. She shared glimpses of triumphs and solitude, the strength forged in years of fighting to be seen and heard. Cole listened, recognizing in her story the resilience he had once admired. But he sensed there were truths she still held back, shadows in her smile that beckoned to be uncovered. When the moment came, her voice softened, and with a glance that flickered between vulnerability and resolve, she revealed a truth that stunned him. She was not alone. There were two children. Children who bore the unmistakable mark of his blood. The revelation hung between them, fragile and explosive. Cole's breath caught, 1,000 emotions crashing over him. Shock, disbelief, hope, and a fear he had long tried to suppress. Nia's eyes searched his face, waiting for a reaction that was both feared and yearned for. In that charged silence, the walls of their past began to crumble. The distance they had carefully maintained dissolved, replaced by a shared urgency to understand what had been lost and could still be salvaged. Boston's golden autumn light filtered through the tall windows, casting long shadows that mirrored the complexities of their reunion. As the conference continued, Cole and Nia stood at the crossroads of a new beginning that demanded courage, forgiveness, and the willingness to face the unknown together. The days following the conference were cloaked in a restless haze for Cole. Each moment seemed to echo with the weight of Nia's revelation. Two children, his children, living a life of which he had been utterly unaware. The certainty he had clung to, that fatherhood was beyond his reach, now shattered, replaced by a tumult of questions and unfamiliar hope. He found himself walking the familiar streets of Boston with a different gaze, searching for something he couldn't quite name. The city that once symbolized only ambition and isolation now whispered promises of connection and belonging he had never dared to imagine. Their first meeting after the conference was arranged with cautious intention. Nia chose a quiet cafe between the brick buildings of Beacon Hill, where time seemed to slow, offering sanctuary from the world's relentless pace. Cole arrived early, nerves knotting his stomach as he rehearsed the words he might say, yet knowing none would suffice. When Nia entered, the sunlight caught her profile, a delicate strength beneath the poised exterior. Her eyes flickered with apprehension, tempered by the resolve to face what must be faced. They sat across from each other, the space filled with unspoken emotions. Nia unfolded her story, peeling back layers of years spent apart. She spoke of the silence that had settled between them, a silence born not of indifference, but of protection, protecting Cole from a truth she feared might break him. "I didn't know how to tell you," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought, maybe it was better this way. For both of us." Cole reached across the table, his hand covering hers, a small gesture heavy with apology and longing. "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice trembled, a mix of pain and yearning. "Why did you carry this all alone?" Nia looked down, a single tear tracing a path along her cheek. "Because I was afraid. Afraid you'd walk away, like you always did. Afraid the man I loved couldn't be the father our children needed." The vulnerability in her words cracked the walls Cole had built around his heart. He realized then that their past was not just a collection of memories, but a living, breathing entity, full of regrets, mistakes, and yet undeniable love. As they spoke, the room seemed to shrink around them, the world outside fading into insignificance. The children, two little lives entwined with theirs, were the invisible bridge that connected their fractured past to an uncertain future. Cole's mind raced, imagining tiny hands reaching for his, the soft laughter of children echoing in the corridors of his home, a life that might have been and still could be. But alongside the hope lay the shadows of doubt and fear. Could he rise to this new role? Could Nia trust him again? Could they find a way to weave their lives together without unraveling what little piece remained? The afternoon waned into evening as they talked, their conversation a delicate dance between confession and forgiveness. Each word and glance was a step toward rebuilding what time and distance had eroded. When they parted, there was no promise of certainty, only the quiet acknowledgement that something profound had begun, a journey neither could walk alone, but one that neither wanted to walk without the other. In the stillness of that moment, Cole understood that the greatest challenge of his life was not in the operating room, but in the fragile, beautiful act of reclaiming a family lost and yet found anew. The first time Cole saw his children up close was a moment etched into his memory with a clarity that no surgical miracle could match. It was a late autumn afternoon, the sky brushed with soft hues of amber and gray, as if the world was holding its breath for what was about to unfold. Nia's modest apartment was warm and inviting, a sanctuary carefully curated with gentle colors and laughter tucked into every corner. As Cole stepped inside, he felt the weight of years dissolve into the quiet hum of domestic life, the scent of freshly baked cookies mingling with the faint aroma of baby powder, the soft rustle of tiny footsteps against the worn wooden floor. And then he saw them, two little faces, bright with curiosity and framed by soft curls, their eyes wide as they studied the stranger who entered their world. Cole's heart clenched as he knelt to their level, the space between them charged with 1,000 unspoken words. "Hi," he said gently, his voice barely more than a breath. "I'm Cole." The twins tilted their heads, exchanging a glance, and then shyly reached a small hand toward him. It was the simplest gesture, yet it cracked open the dam of emotion Cole had tried to keep in check. The connection was immediate, profound, a bond forged by blood and the silent language of trust and longing. Nia watched from the doorway, a mixture of hope and apprehension playing across her face. She had protected these children fiercely, guarding them from a world that often misunderstood them. And now she faced the daunting task of blending the fragments of their lives with the presence of the man who had been absent for so long. As the afternoon light softened, Cole sat with the twins on a colorful rug, listening to their tentative chatter, the melody of their laughter weaving into the spaces of his heart. Every smile, every tentative touch was a thread pulling him closer to a new reality, one filled with messy, beautiful imperfection. But beneath the joy lay a quiet storm. Cole was acutely aware of the shadows that lingered, the years lost, the moments missed, the walls built by fear and silence. He felt the heavy responsibility settle on his shoulders, to be more than a name or a distant figure, to be the father they deserved. Nia joined them then, her voice soft but steady as she spoke of the children's days, dreams, and little quirks. Together, they navigated the delicate dance of co-parenting, learning to balance the past's wounds with the future's fragile promise. In that intimate space, Cole realized that love was not an instant fix, but a patient journey that required humility, courage, and the willingness to be vulnerable. As evening draped its velvet cloak over Boston, the small family lingered in the warmth of togetherness, fragile yet hopeful. Cole knew the path ahead would be riddled with challenges, But in the quiet gaze of those two children, he found a reason to believe that redemption was possible, that hearts could heal, and that family could be rebuilt, one tender moment at a time. The fragile peace that had begun to settle between Cole and Nia was soon tested by the tangled web of unspoken words and old wounds that neither had dared to confront until now. Their lives, once parallel lines, were now converging with exhilarating and terrifying force. One crisp evening, as the city lights of Boston flickered to life beneath the darkening sky, Cole found himself walking alongside Nia in the quiet park near her apartment. The twins, hand in hand with Nia, giggled softly as they chased the last golden leaves tumbling from the trees. The air was thick with the scent of earth and memories. Cole broke the silence first, his voice low and hesitant. "Nia, I've been carrying so many questions. About us, about the past. I want to understand. I want to know why you left without a word and didn't trust me enough to share the truth." Nia paused, her eyes reflecting the fading light, a storm of emotions swirling within. "It wasn't easy," she admitted, her voice trembling. "Leaving was the hardest thing I've ever done. I thought I was protecting you, protecting the children. But in doing so, I only protected myself from the pain I was afraid to face." Cole's gaze softened, the hurt mingling with compassion. "I never stopped loving you," he whispered. "But your silence broke me. I thought I had lost you forever." Their words hung between them, fragile yet charged with a yearning to heal. As they walked, memories spilled forth. Laughter, tears, hope, and heartbreak. They spoke of fears they'd buried, regrets that lingered like shadows, and the delicate hope that still flickered beneath the surface. Nia confessed how she'd wrestled with guilt and loneliness, raising the twins alone, wondering if Cole would ever be a part of their lives. Cole shared his battles, the emptiness that hollowed his days, the silent nights haunted by the possibility of fatherhood lost. Their conversation was a dance of honesty and vulnerability, each step bringing them closer to understanding, yet exposing the rawness of their wounds. Later, as they sat beneath the canopy of stars, Nia reached for Cole's hand, her touch tentative but full of meaning. "We have so much to rebuild," she said softly, "not just for us, but for the children. They deserve the family we never knew how to be." Cole nodded, his heart swelling with a fierce determination. "I'm willing to try, to be better, for them, for you, for us." In that quiet moment, the past no longer felt like a chain, but a foundation. Flawed, yes, but strong enough to support a future born from forgiveness and love. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and moments of doubt. But for the first time in years, Cole and Nia stepped forward together, two hearts learning to beat as one, amidst the intricate tapestry of their shared history and the promise of what was yet to come. The fragile thread that held Cole and Nia's newfound connection together trembled under the weight of unspoken truths and silent fears. Though the twins' laughter filled the rooms and their tiny footsteps echoed softly through the apartment, there lingered a quiet tension, a lingering shadow cast by the years they had lost, and the secrets that still clung like autumn fog. One evening, as the rain whispered gently against the window panes, Cole found himself sitting alone in the dim glow of the living room. The twins were asleep, their breathing soft and even, and Nia had stepped out for a moment, leaving the stillness to settle around him like a fragile cocoon. His mind wandered back to the early days of their reunion, to the hesitant smiles and cautious glances exchanged over bedtime stories and morning breakfasts. Yet beneath those moments of tenderness lay a quiet question that neither had dared to voice aloud. Could they truly trust again? Could the fractures of the past be mended without shattering anew? When Nia returned, her eyes were heavy with exhaustion and unspoken worries. She sat beside him, fingers tracing gentle patterns on his arm. A silent comfort. "I'm scared, Cole," she confessed softly, her voice barely above the rain's murmur. "Scared that after all this time, we might still be too broken to make this work. That the past will always come between us." Cole turned to her, his gaze steady and warm. "I feel that too," he admitted. "But I also believe that the love we have now, however fragile, is worth fighting for. For you, the twins, and the family we're trying to become." Their conversation unfolded with a delicate honesty as they laid bare their fears and hopes, weaving threads of vulnerability into the fabric of their relationship. They spoke of the scars of absence and silence, the ache of missed milestones, and the quiet resilience that had carried them through lonely nights. In the following days, they faced the subtle challenges of blending lives that had long run parallel. There were moments of frustration, misunderstandings over parenting choices, silent nights heavy with unresolved tension, and the ghosts of old doubts that crept uninvited. Yet amidst the turbulence, there were moments of profound connection. Cole's eyes softened as he watched the twins sleep. Nia's laughter filled the kitchen as they cooked dinner together, and the small acts of kindness stitched their hearts closer. One afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the windows, Cole found Nia sitting on the floor, twins curled around her like a living tapestry of warmth. He knelt beside them, reaching out to intertwine his fingers with theirs. "This," he whispered, voice thick with emotion, "is what I never knew I was missing." Nia looked up, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "And now it's ours to protect." In that shared space of hope and healing, they began to understand that love was not about perfection, but persistence. It was the courage to face uncertainty hand in hand, to forgive the past while embracing the promise of tomorrow. Though the path ahead remained uncertain, Cole and Nia chose to walk it together, two souls fragile yet fierce, united by the quiet power of a family reborn from the depths of pain and the light of newfound trust. Cole sat by the window of his modest apartment, watching the rain cascade down the glass like the slow unraveling of a tightly held secret. The rhythmic patter was soothing, yet inside, a tempest brewed, a fierce battle between hope and doubt, between the man he had been and the father he longed to become. For years, he had believed his dreams of fatherhood were forever out of reach. The diagnosis, the cold medical words, had echoed in his mind, sealing shut a door he never imagined reopening. Yet now, faced with his children's undeniable truth, he felt overwhelmed and awakened. The man in the mirror was no longer just a surgeon saving lives in sterile rooms. He was called to save the fragile hearts at home, to rebuild what time had scattered. But fear gnawed at him relentlessly. Could he rise to the responsibility that awaited? Could he bridge the chasm left by years of absence? The quiet nights were the hardest, when the house was still, and the weight of unspoken regrets pressed heavily upon his chest. Nia's steady presence was both a balm and a reminder of what lay unfinished between them. Her strength, forged through years of solitary struggle, illuminated paths he had never dared to tread. Yet, the distance in her eyes on some days revealed the scars that time had yet to heal. One evening, after putting the twins to bed, Cole found Nia on the worn couch, a book unopened in her hands, her gaze lost somewhere beyond the walls. He approached gently, sitting beside her. "Nia," he began, voice soft yet determined. "I want to be the father they deserve, not just in presence, but in heart. But I'm scared that I'll fail them, and worse, fail you." She turned to him, eyes glistening with emotion. "Cole, Love isn't about never failing. It's about standing up after we fall, about choosing each other despite the fears. I don't expect perfection, honesty, effort, and love. Their hands found each other in the quiet space between words, fingers entwined like lifelines. In the following weeks, Cole immersed himself in the rhythms of family life, learning to balance his demanding career with the needs of his children, attending parent-teacher meetings, soothing tears, and celebrating small victories. Each day brought new challenges, moments of doubt tempered by bursts of joy. He discovered the magic in bedtime stories whispered in the dark, the laughter that bubbled freely during afternoon play, and the quiet moments of connection that needed no words. Yet, the journey was far from seamless. There were days when exhaustion frayed his patience, past mistakes haunted his mind, and the fear of not being enough threatened to consume him. But in those moments, Nia's unwavering faith became his anchor. Together, they navigated the fragile dance of rebuilding trust, honoring the past without imprisonment, creating space for forgiveness, and nurturing a patient and resilient love. One crisp morning, as golden leaves spiraled through the Boston streets, Cole watched his twins chase each other in the park, their laughter weaving into the fabric of the day. Nia stood nearby, her smile radiant, a quiet testament to battles won and hopes rekindled. Cole realized then that fatherhood was not a role he was given, but a path he chose daily, a path marked by vulnerability, courage, and unyielding love. The fears that once threatened to bind him had softened into quiet determination, a promise whispered in the gentle clasp of small hands and the steady beat of hearts learning to heal together. Cole's first tentative steps toward building a relationship with his twins felt like navigating a labyrinth without a map, full of uncertainty, missteps, and small triumphs that flickered like distant stars in the vast night of unfamiliarity. He remembered how their tiny fingers curled nervously around his, hesitant yet hopeful, as if testing the waters of a connection that had been absent for far too long. Those early moments were fragile, woven with curiosity and caution, a delicate dance of discovery for all of them. Mornings began with sleepy smiles and quiet routines, as Cole learned the language of their needs, the precise way one twin liked his cereal, the other's favorite bedtime lullaby. Each detail was a thread stitching together the fabric of a family newly formed but yearning to belong. Yet the journey was not without its stumbles. There were times when Cole's professional demeanor faltered under exhaustion, when the impatience bred by long hours seeped into his interactions. He caught himself in those moments, the quick sigh, the distracted glance, and felt the sting of guilt. One afternoon, as golden light poured through the living room window, Cole sat on the floor with the twins, attempting to assemble a jigsaw puzzle. The pieces scattered across the carpet mirrored the scattered fragments of his own heart, awkward, incomplete, yet determined to fit together. The twins giggled, their laughter a balm to the cracks in his confidence. "Daddy, you're silly," one exclaimed, pushing a piece that didn't quite fit. Cole smiled, ruffling their curls. "Silly is part of the fun, isn't it?" Nia watched from the doorway, a soft smile touching her lips. She saw the effort etched in every gesture, the slow but steady breaking down of walls that had kept them apart. As days turned into weeks, moments of closeness multiplied, the bedtime stories that ended with sleepy whispers, the impromptu dance parties in the kitchen, the shared secrets exchanged in the quiet glow of nightlights. Cole found himself changed in ways he hadn't anticipated. The sterile precision of the operating room gave way to the messy, unpredictable beauty of fatherhood. He learned to listen not just with his ears, but with his heart, to be patient when words failed and actions spoke louder. But beneath the joy, a persistent fear lingered, the fear of losing them again, falling short, and being an outsider in the lives that had grown without him. One evening, After tucking the twins into bed, Cole stood in the dim hallway, watching their peaceful faces framed by moonlight. A whisper of a promise escaped his lips. "I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere." Nia joined him silently, her hand finding his in the quiet darkness. Together, they stood as guardians of fragile trust, ready to face challenges. In those simple, unguarded moments, Cole discovered the profound truth that love was not always loud or grand. It was often found in the quiet persistence of showing up, again and again, for the ones who needed you most. And so, with every small step, every tender touch, and every shared smile, a family began to grow. Not perfect, but beautifully, authentically theirs. The delicate balance between Cole and Nia shifted subtly with each passing day, a dance choreographed by lingering echoes of the past and the tentative beats of renewed affection. The walls they'd built, sometimes as shields, as barriers, wavered in the gentle light of second chances, yet shadows still stretched long between them. Their interactions were a mosaic of contrasts, moments charged with the tenderness of rediscovery, entwined with the sharp edges of doubt and the silent weight of unspoken grievances. The familiarity that once comforted now stirred restless questions, and the distance carved by years apart felt both near and far, like a haunting refrain they couldn't quite shake. One evening, after the twins had drifted off to sleep, Cole and Nia found themselves alone in the quiet sanctuary of the living room. The soft glow of lamplight wrapped around them, highlighting the vulnerability in Nia's eyes and the hesitant hope in Cole's. "I don't know how to bridge this gap sometimes," Nia confessed, voice soft but steady. "We've lived so much apart. How do we become more than strangers sharing a home?" Cole reached for her hand, his touch warm but tentative. "I'm learning too. It's not easy. But every day I wake up wanting to try harder. For you, for them." Their conversations often veered between laughter and tears, joy and frustration. Nia sometimes recoiled from her fears, unsure if reopening her heart might only invite pain. Cole wrestled with his insecurities, afraid his best efforts might never be enough to heal what had been broken. The twins, blissfully unaware of the complexities around them, brought light and laughter that softened even the most challenging moments. Their innocent questions and spontaneous hugs were gentle reminders of the family they were shaping, fragile but growing stronger. One afternoon, as the sun spilled golden light across the kitchen, Cole caught Nia watching him play with the twins, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. The moment was fleeting, but electric, a silent acknowledgement of progress. Yet, the path was far from smooth. Old wounds occasionally reopened unexpectedly, arguments sparked by misunderstandings, moments of silence that felt like chasms, and the persistent fear of losing what little they'd regained. Nia confessed one night, wrapped in a blanket of vulnerability. "Sometimes I wonder if we're fooling ourselves, if love can erase years of hurt." Cole's response was quiet, but resolute. "Love isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing each other despite everything. And I choose you." Every day, their hands found each other in the dark, fingers entwining like the threads of a fragile tapestry being rewoven. In embracing shared struggles and small victories, Cole and Nia learned that love's actual test was not in the absence of difficulty, but in the courage to face it together. Their journey was one of slow healing, of opening hearts cautiously but thoroughly, and of building a family not defined by perfection, but by unwavering commitment. As Boston's nights grew colder, the warmth between them grew stronger, a quiet promise that, despite the shadows, their story was still being written, chapter by chapter, with hope and resilience at its core. The fragile world Cole and Nia had begun to rebuild was not without its challengers. Beyond the quiet walls of their home, the echoes of judgment and skepticism reverberated, casting long shadows that threatened to unravel their fragile tapestry. Family gatherings became tests of endurance. Nia's relatives, protective and wary, watched Cole with a mixture of suspicion and cautious hope. Some questioned his intentions, whispering doubts about the man who had been absent for so long. Cole's family, proud yet demanding, struggled to reconcile the quiet strength he had found with the son and brother they thought they knew. Then there were the whispers from friends and neighbors, the curious glances exchanged when the twins appeared with their father for the first time at community events. Boston's close-knit neighborhoods were both a haven and a crucible, where reputations were forged and tested simultaneously. One afternoon, as Cole walked with the twins through a bustling farmer's market, a familiar face approached. A childhood friend turned skeptic. His voice, though casual, carried an edge. "Never thought I'd see you playing house, Cole. What made you change your mind?" Cole's jaw tightened, but he answered with measured calm. "People grow. Priorities change." The man shrugged, unconvinced. "Hope it's not too late." The encounter lingered in Cole's mind long after, a stark reminder that acceptance was an external journey. Nia, too, faced her battles. Friends questioned how she could trust again and invite a man who had once been absent into the delicate balance she'd maintained. Their doubts echoed in her heart, stirring insecurities she fought to suppress. One evening, after a particularly tense family dinner, Nia confided in Cole. "Sometimes I wonder if the world is ready to accept us, all of us, as a family." Cole took her hand, his voice steady with conviction. "We don't need the world's permission. We have each other. That's enough." Together, they forged a quiet resilience, learning to navigate the opinions and prejudices that came like tides, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce. They became each other's refuge, a sanctuary against the world's whispers. The love they nurtured for the twins grew stronger inside their home, a beacon that cut through doubt. Each smile from the children, each shared bedtime story, was a quiet rebellion against the cynicism surrounding them. Through the trials, Cole and Nia discovered that the true strength of family was not in perfection or approval, but in the unwavering commitment to stand together, defying expectations, breaking down barriers, and building a home where love was the foundation. In the face of adversity, their bond deepened, rooted in trust and the shared dream of a future unshackled by the past. And though the world outside might question, they found a peace born of courage and the quiet power of belonging within their walls. The storm arrived without warning, a sudden tempest that shattered the fragile calm Cole and Nia had painstakingly built around their fledgling family. It came not as a loud crash, but as a subtle shift, a moment when the unthinkable slipped quietly into their lives. It was a typical afternoon, sunlight filtering softly through the curtains, the twins laughing as they played with blocks on the living room floor. Nia was preparing a late lunch in the kitchen, humming a melody that had become their unspoken anthem of hope. Cole was returning from a brief hospital shift, still in his scrubs, exhaustion etched on his features, yet softened by the thought of home. The phone call came just as Cole crossed the threshold, sharp, urgent, the voice on the other end trembling with worry. "There's been an accident," the doctor said. "One of the children. It's serious. You need to come quickly." Time fractured then, moments collapsing into a blur of frantic motion. Cole's heart pounded wildly, fear and adrenaline mingling into a fierce resolve. Nia's face drained of color as she clutched his arm, their shared terror knitting them together instantly. At the hospital, The sterile corridors echoed with whispers of uncertainty. Cole's hands, usually steady and assured in the operating room, trembled as he sat beside the tiny bed where his child lay, fragile beneath the stark lights. The hours stretched thin, each a taut thread between hope and despair. Nia never left the bedside, her fingers entwined with Cole's, their silent prayers a lifeline in the sterile room. As doctors worked tirelessly, Cole was forced to confront a helplessness he'd never known, a vulnerability that stripped away his practiced calm and laid bare the depths of his love and fear. In the stillness between heartbeats, Nia's gaze met his, a silent promise passing between them. No matter the outcome, they would face it together. When the news came, cautious but hopeful, that the child would recover, relief washed over them in a tidal wave of emotion. Tears mingled with smiles as they held each other close, grateful for the fragile gift of life renewed. The crisis became a turning point, a fierce reminder of the preciousness and fragility of the family they were forging. It laid bare their fears and deepened their bond, pushing them to embrace each other with renewed urgency and tenderness. In the days that followed, as the twins grew stronger, Cole and Nia found solace in recovery and the strength born from facing darkness side by side. Their love, tested and tempered by the storm, emerged more resilient, anchored in the fierce devotion to protect and nurture the family that had become their greatest triumph. Amid the quiet after the tempest, they learned that sometimes the most profound healing comes not just from survival, but from the unbreakable bond forged in moments of shared vulnerability and unwavering hope. The weeks following the crisis unfolded like a delicate dance between relief and reflection, a time when Cole and Nia found themselves navigating the quiet spaces between fear and hope, past and future. The near loss of their child had shaken the very foundations of their lives, forcing them to confront not only their deepest anxieties, but also the strength of the bonds they had begun to forge. In the soft morning light, filtering through the curtains, Cole sat beside the twins' crib, watching their tiny chests rise and fall in peaceful slumber. The fragility of life no longer felt like a distant concept, but a tangible presence, one that demanded reverence and care. Every breath they took was a testament to resilience, every smile of victory over the shadows that had once threatened to consume them. Nia joined him quietly, her hand slipping into his. They shared a look rich with unspoken understanding, a mutual acknowledgement of the journey they had endured and the road that still lay ahead. In those moments, the weight of years lost seemed to lift, replaced by a quiet determination to reclaim what had been broken. The trauma of the accident had stripped away pretenses, leaving raw truth and a shared vulnerability that neither could ignore. They began to speak more openly, their conversations weaving threads of honesty and forgiveness through the fabric of their relationship. Past grievances were laid bare, mistakes confessed and understood not as weapons, but as steps toward healing. "I never wanted to lose you," Cole admitted one evening, voice thick with emotion. "Not you, not the children, not this family we're trying to build." Nia's eyes shimmered with tears she refused to shed. "And I never wanted to carry this alone. We're stronger together, even when it's hard." Their journey toward healing was neither linear nor straightforward. There were days when shadows of doubt returned, when fears whispered of what might be lost again. But each challenge was met with renewed commitment, a willingness to confront discomfort for the sake of love. They learned to lean on each other, to recognize when words were not enough, and presence was the greatest gift. They found solace and strength in the quiet gestures, an unexpected hug, a gentle touch, a shared smile. The twins, too, became symbols of hope and new beginnings. Their laughter echoed through the halls like a healing melody, their innocence a reminder of the purity and promise that life still held. Together, Cole and Nia embraced the imperfect beauty of their journey, one marked by pain and perseverance, loss and love. They understood that family was not defined by flawless beginnings, but by the courage to face uncertainty hand in hand. As autumn deepened and leaves painted the city in hues of gold and crimson, their hearts grew fuller, anchored in the fragile yet enduring bonds they had forged. The past, no longer a chain, but a foundation. They stepped forward into a future shaped by compassion, resilience, and a love fiercely determined to endure. The quiet rhythms of their daily life began to settle into a comforting pattern. Yet, beneath the surface, Cole and Nia felt the subtle shifts of something more profound stirring within. A rekindling of emotions long held at bay, delicate as the first bloom of spring after a long winter. Once cautious and measured, their shared moments now carried the gentle weight of possibility and hope. One crisp morning, sunlight poured through the windows, casting golden hues over the kitchen, where Nia hummed softly while preparing breakfast. Cole leaned against the doorway, watching her with a tenderness that spoke of admiration and longing. The twins, busy building towers of blocks, looked up and smiled, their innocent joy filling the space with warmth. Nia glanced up, catching Cole's gaze. A small smile curved her lips, a silent invitation that stirred something deep within him. He crossed the room, the distance between them shrinking with every step. Their hands met briefly, fingers intertwining in a touch that was both familiar and new, a delicate bridge spanning years of distance and doubt. In that simple gesture lay the unspoken promise of something fragile and beautiful taking root. As the day unfolded, they found themselves drawn together by shared laughter and quiet conversations, the barriers between them softening with each exchange. Cole spoke of his hopes and fears, the vulnerability in his voice, a testament to the trust he was beginning to place in her. Nia listened, her heart opening to the possibility of a love reborn, not without scars, but richer for the trials endured. In the gentle hush of the afternoon, they wandered through a nearby park, the twins skipping ahead, their laughter a bright melody against the backdrop of rustling leaves. Cole and Nia walked side by side, their steps unhurried, their words sparse but laden with meaning. At a small bench beneath an ancient oak, they paused. Cole reached for Nia's hand again, this time holding it with a quiet resolve. "I want to build something real with you," he confessed, voice low but sure. "Not just for the children, but for us, for whatever comes next." Nia's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, her heart a turbulent sea of hope and hesitation. "I want that too," she whispered. "But it's going to take time, patience, and forgiveness. We're both still healing." He nodded, understanding the truth in her words. He realized love was not a sudden blaze, but a slow-burning flame, requiring care, attention, and the courage to face the shadows. Their journey was far from over, but in that moment, beneath the canopy of golden leaves and the watchful sky, Cole and Nia allowed themselves to dream, not of a perfect past reclaimed, but of a future shaped by resilience, trust, and the quiet power of second chances. Together, they stepped forward, hearts aligned in fragile harmony, ready to embrace the love that had waited patiently beneath the surface, waiting to bloom anew. The turning point came not with grand gestures or sweeping declarations, but in the subtle, quiet moments when hearts began to unfurl and walls once built from fear and pain started to crumble. Cole and Nia stood on the delicate edge between past hurts and future possibilities, navigating the intricate dance of forgiveness and understanding. It was a late autumn evening, the sky painted with soft hues of purple and rose, the chill in the air softened by the warmth spilling from the windows of their shared home. The twins were asleep upstairs, breathing steadily and peacefully, a reminder of the precious life they had all fought to protect. Cole and Nia sat close on the worn couch, the space between them charged with years of unspoken words and tentative hopes. Nia's eyes, usually guarded, shimmered with vulnerability as she finally voiced the ache that had lingered in her heart. "I've carried so much pain, Cole, not just from the years apart, but from the silence and the unanswered questions. Sometimes I wondered if we could ever truly find our way back to each other." Cole reached out, gently brushing a stray curl from her face. "I've felt the same. The weight of mistakes, the fear that forgiveness might be out of reach. But love can break through even the hardest barriers." Their hands found each other, fingers entwined in a gesture of tentative trust and a longing to heal. The room seemed to hold its breath as they leaned closer, the space between them dissolving into a quiet promise. "I want to forgive," Nia whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "Not because forgetting is possible, but because holding on to pain only keeps us apart. I want us to heal, together." Cole's heart ached with the depth of her confession. "I'm ready, Nia. Ready to face everything, to be the man you and the children deserve. It won't be perfect, but it will be real." In that tender moment, forgiveness became more than a word, a bridge spanning the chasm of years lost and mistakes made. It began a new chapter, written with courage, compassion, and the shared determination to rebuild. The following nights were filled with quiet conversations, long walks beneath the amber glow of streetlights, and small acts of kindness that stitched their hearts closer. They discovered that healing was not linear. It came in waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce, but always with the promise of growth. Through tears, laughter, setbacks, and breakthroughs, Cole and Nia learned that love's true power lay not in erasing the past, but embracing it fully, choosing each other despite imperfections and scars. Their family, once fragmented by distance and fear, began to knit itself together anew, rooted in forgiveness, watered by patience, and blossoming with the hope of a future forged from the strength of their shared journey. As the city's lights twinkled in the distance and the autumn breeze whispered through open windows, Cole and Nia held each other close, hearts beating in quiet harmony, ready to face whatever the dawn would bring, united, healed, and profoundly connected. The air in their home was thick with the scent of late autumn, earthy and sweet, mingling with the faint aroma of cinnamon from the kitchen. Outside, the world wore a cloak of golden leaves, rustling softly in the gentle breeze, while inside, a quieter transformation was taking place. A family, once fractured and uncertain, now weaving itself into a tapestry of belonging and love. Cole stood by the window, watching the twins chase each other through the yard, their laughter echoing like music he never imagined hearing again. Each smile they shared was a note in a melody of redemption, a testament to the journey that had brought them here, from distance and silence to warmth and connection. Nia joined him silently, slipping her hand into his, a familiar comfort that spoke volumes beyond words. Their eyes met, reflecting the unspoken truth that had blossomed between them. Love was not a perfect story, but a collection of imperfect, raw, and beautiful moments. In the quiet that followed, Cole felt the weight of years lift from his shoulders, replaced by a gentle resolve. He had learned that being a father was not simply a title, but a daily choice, a commitment to presence, patience, and unconditional love. The road had been winding, fraught with doubts and fears, but each step had led him closer to the heart of what truly mattered. Nia's radiant and unguarded smile was the proof of healing, that love could survive absence, grow through adversity, and bloom anew when tended with care. Together, they walked toward the porch, where the twins waited, faces flushed with the joy of play and discovery. The children ran into their arms, a seamless union of past and present, of brokenness made whole. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in shades of rose and amber, Cole and Nia stood side by side, partners, lovers, parents, bound by a love forged in the fires of hardship and cooled in the waters of forgiveness. They knew the future would hold its challenges, moments when uncertainty might creep in, but also endless opportunities to choose each other again, to nurture the fragile threads of family and hope. In the gentle clasp of hands, the quiet exchange of smiles, and the warmth of shared dreams, their story found its truth. Not in grand declarations, but in the everyday acts of love that whispered promises of forever. Boston's autumn leaves continued to fall, each a delicate reminder that endings and beginnings often intertwine, and that sometimes the most beautiful stories are those written with courage, resilience, and hearts brave enough to love again. The soft light of early evening settled over Boston, casting long golden shadows that danced gently across the walls of the home Cole and Nia had slowly transformed into a sanctuary. It was a place built not just with bricks and mortar, but with patience, forgiveness, and the delicate threads of love woven through countless small moments. Moments of laughter shared over spilled cereal, quiet conversations whispered in the night, and the steady, unwavering presence of hands held tightly through uncertainty. Standing together on the porch, watching their twins chase fireflies under the fading sky, Cole felt an overwhelming sense of peace, a peace that had once seemed impossible, buried beneath years of silence and regret. Nia's hand found his, their fingers intertwining naturally, as if no time had ever passed between them. The glow from the lanterns they'd hung flickered softly, mirroring the steady flame that now burned between their hearts. "I never thought we'd come this far," Nia murmured, her voice tinged with wonder and quiet strength. "From all the pain, the distance, to this, a family." Cole smiled, the lines of worry softened by hope. "We did it together. Every step wasn't easy, but it was ours, and I'm grateful for everyone." Their eyes met, reflecting a shared promise, a commitment not just to the past they had survived, but to the future they would build, hand in hand. In that moment, the city around them seemed to fade away, leaving only the warmth of home and the gentle rhythm of hearts beating in unison. Shadows had marked the journey, but they had learned to find light even in the darkest corners, to create beauty from brokenness. Their story was not one of fairy tale perfection, but of real love, raw, messy, and fiercely resilient. It was a testament to the power of second chances and the courage to open one's heart again. For anyone who has ever felt lost in the pain of the past, who has carried the weight of unspoken fears, or wondered if love could truly heal, Cole and Nia's journey offers a quiet hope that no matter how far we stray, how broken we feel, the possibility of love, of family, remains alive, waiting to be claimed with patience, grace, and unwavering faith. As the stars emerged one by one in the velvet sky, their lights soft but steadfast, so did the promise of new beginnings shine in the hearts of those brave enough to embrace them. If this story touched something deep within you, if you believe in the healing power of love and the strength of forgiveness, please share your thoughts below. Your voice adds to the chorus of hope, reminding us all that we are not alone on this journey. And if you want to walk alongside more stories of courage, resilience, and love reborn, follow the channel. Together, We'll uncover the quiet magic in everyday moments and celebrate the extraordinary power of the human heart. For now, as the night wraps around Boston, know that love is waiting for you, for me, for all of us, to light the way home.